I never believed in the paranormal. You know, the whole ghost, demon, or whatever other creepy stuff people like to share on the internet. I always thought it was just to scare people or get clicks. But that was before I moved into this new apartment. I moved in a few months ago, hoping for a fresh start. The place wasn't anything fancy. It was cheap, which, honestly, should have been my first red flag. The landlord was a little too eager to hand over the keys, and the whole building had this strange smell, like mildew and something sweet, which I couldn't quite put my finger on. But hey, it was a good deal, and I needed a place fast. So, I settled in. The first few weeks were totally normal. I was working, coming home, binging shows, living the usual routine. Then, one night, I started hearing this noise. It was subtle at first, like a faint scraping sound coming from the walls. I figured it was just the building settling or maybe my neighbors, though I hadn't met any yet. Whatever, I didn't think much of it. But over time, the noise got louder, like way louder. It went from a soft scratch to what sounded like someone, dragging their nails along the wall. I even banged on the walls a few times to get them to stop. But nothing changed. Honestly, I started to lose sleep over it. Then one night, after another long day of work, I came home and noticed something off. There was this door in the hallway near my bedroom that I swore hadn't been there before. It was small, almost like a closet door, but it was painted the same color as the wall, so I must have missed it. At least, that's what I told myself. But here's the weird thing. When I looked at the floor plan of the apartment, there wasn't supposed to be anything there. That part of the wall was supposed to be solid. So, of course, my curiosity got the better of me, and I tried the handle. It was locked. Now, most people would have just walked away at that point. But something about that door, it was like it was calling to me. I don't know. Maybe it was the lack of sleep, or maybe I'm just stupidly curious. But I decided to find a way in. The next day, I bought a cheap set of lockpicks online. Don't ask me how I learned to pick locks, but let's just say it's a skill I picked up over the years. Anyway, a few days later, the picks arrived, and that night, I went to work. It wasn't easy, but eventually, I got the door open. Behind it was a staircase. Now, this wasn't some grand staircase leading to another floor or anything. No, this was a narrow, creepy staircase that led down. And here's the thing. My apartment is on the top floor. There shouldn't have been anything below me, just more apartments, and eventually the ground floor. But this staircase, it was leading somewhere else entirely. I grabbed my phone for light and started descending. Each step creaked under my weight, and the air got colder and colder the further I went. The walls were damp, and there was this awful smell, kind of like that sweet mildew I mentioned earlier, but more intense. I started feeling uneasy, but again, I was too far down to just turn back. At the bottom of the stairs was another door. This one was different, though. It was old, like really old. The wood was rotting, and the handle looked like it hadn't been touched in years. When I opened it, the smell hit me like a wall. It was so strong I gagged. Inside was this room. It was small, barely enough space to stand in, and there were no windows, no furniture, nothing, except for a chair. In the middle of the room, bolted to the floor, was this old, rusted chair, and hanging from the ceiling, right above it, was a single, flickering light bulb. I don't know why, but something in my gut told me I needed to get out of there, fast. I turned around, ready to leave, but the second I did, the door slammed shut behind me. I ran back up the stairs, banging on the door, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped. I don't know how long I was down there. Time kind of stopped making sense. The light in the room kept flickering on and off, and every time it did, I swear I could hear whispers. They weren't loud, more like someone speaking in the background, just out of earshot. But it wasn't just one voice. It was multiple, all talking at once, and none of them made any sense. Eventually, I must have passed out from exhaustion, because when I woke up, I was back in my apartment, just lying on the floor in front of that weird door. It was closed again, and the lock was back in place like nothing had happened. The next day, I called the landlord trying to get some answers. He acted all confused, like he didn't know what I was talking about. He even sent someone over to check, but when they looked, there was no door. Not even a trace. I know what you're thinking. Maybe I was dreaming or hallucinating. Maybe the lack of sleep got to me and my mind was playing tricks. But I know what I saw. That door was real. The staircase was real. And whatever was in that room, it was real too. I haven't heard the scraping noises since then. In fact, the apartment's been pretty quiet. But I still get this uneasy feeling whenever I walk past that part of the hallway, like something's watching me. I've been thinking about moving out, but honestly, I'm scared to leave. What if whatever was down there follows me? I know I probably sound paranoid. Trust me, I've tried convincing myself that it was all in my head, that the door was just some weird dream, but I can't shake this feeling. It's like, once you've seen something like that, something you know shouldn't exist, you can't go back to normal life. It's always there in the back of your mind, reminding you. The worst part? A few days after all this happened, I started noticing things missing around my apartment. Nothing major at first, just little things like my keys or a sock. They'd show up later in the weirdest places, like on the kitchen counter or inside a drawer I never use. I figured maybe I was just being forgetful, but then I started waking up in the middle of the night. You know that feeling when you suddenly jolt awake for no reason? Your heart's racing, and you have no idea why? Yeah, that's been happening to me a lot lately. Every time I wake up, it's the same thing. Pitch black room, dead silence, and this overwhelming feeling that I'm not alone. I've checked my whole apartment, but there's never anything there. Still, I can't shake the feeling that someone, or something, is watching me. Sometimes I swear I can hear faint footsteps, like someone's walking around. But the second I get out of bed, the sound stops. It's almost like whatever it is knows I'm awake. Last week, things got even weirder. I was coming home from work, and when I opened the door to my apartment, the place smelled different. It wasn't that mildew smell anymore. No, it was more like rot, like something was decaying. I searched the entire place, but I couldn't find the source. The smell lingered for a few hours and then just disappeared, like it was never there. That night, I woke up again. This time, it wasn't because of the usual uneasiness. No, this time I woke up because I heard a voice. It was faint, barely more than a whisper, but it was definitely there. It was coming from the hallway. I was too freaked out to move at first, but eventually I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. I walked out into the hallway and the voice got louder. It wasn't speaking English. Honestly, I'm not sure what language it was. It sounded guttural, almost inhuman. I followed the sound, and sure enough, it was coming from that same spot where the door had been. But the door wasn't there anymore, just the wall. I stood there for a few minutes, listening to the voice, my heart pounding in my chest. I thought about running, calling the police, doing something, anything. But I just stood there, frozen. And then, just as suddenly as it started, the voice stopped. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I've been thinking about that room at the bottom of the stairs a lot lately. I can't help but wonder, what was the point of it? Why was there nothing down there except for that chair? And why did I hear whispers? I keep telling myself not to think about it, that it's better if I just forget it ever happened. But I can't. I can't stop wondering what would have happened if I had stayed down there longer, if the door hadn't let me out. I haven't told anyone about this. I mean, how do you even bring something like this up without sounding like a complete lunatic? Hey, by the way, I found a haunted staircase in my apartment. and now I think something's watching me. Yeah, no thanks, but I've been documenting everything just in case. Writing it down helps, somehow. Makes it feel more real, less like I'm going crazy. And if something does happen to me, at least someone will know. I don't know how much longer I can stay here. Every day, I feel like I'm getting closer to some kind of breaking point. It's like whatever's here is getting more comfortable, more confident. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like it's waiting for something. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Maybe I just need a vacation, some time to clear my head. But then again, maybe I've seen too much. Maybe it's already too late. So yeah, that's my story. If you're ever apartment hunting and the rent seems too good to be true, trust me, there's probably a reason. And if you find a door where there shouldn't be one, don't open it.